Was there a deliberate explosion or explosions to the Nord Stream's 1 and 2 pipeline in the Baltic Sea? First, there was a leak in Nord Stream 1. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't much later, a few hours later, then there was a leak in the Nord Stream 2. There's bubbles coming toward the surface of these of this pipeline is what was happening in the Baltic Sea. And we'll make this map a tad bit bigger. You can see where the Baltic Sea is located. We have Russia over, where Russia is located too, you all. Seismologists suspect explosions damaged the undersea pipelines that carry Russian gas. And we're going to look at something. They think that it was sabotaged. They really do. They think that it's sabotage, and the gas prices are already high. Energy prices are like doubling in countries. And Switzerland, they came out with something saying, if you raise your thermostat above 19 degrees, you're going to face some fines or you're going to face some jail time because they're not playing. They're not playing, you all. They're not. That's what they said. And I've got these, we're going to look at this. Hello, Applebrooks, honey. This right here is like, this gets stranger by the minute. It does. And I'm not going to be on here too long. I'm going to try to keep it simple. I'm going to try to keep it simple. I've got to try to get off of this thing that I'm on. I don't know if they changed my thumbnail. Oh, no, they changed it. That's great. We're here. It was from Sweden. Okay, it was from Sweden. And welcome, everyone. T, honey, are you on here? Did I see you? Hello there, T. So I've come over here to this website. Seismologists suspect explosions damage the undersea pipelines that carry the Russian gas. This is September 27th of 2022. You can see the bubbles, the perfect circle with the bubbles and stuff in there. A large disturbance in the sea can be observed off the coast of the Danish island of Bornholm, following an unusual leaks in 2 natural gas pipelines running from Russia under the Baltic Sea to Germany. The Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said that she cannot rule out sabotage on Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, you all. What are you talking about, sabotage? Certainly no one would ever think of doing that to somebody, humanity, especially with winter coming, because it's going to get very, very cold, and the prices of energy is like through the roof. Certainly no one would sabotage these pipelines. Certainly not as an act of, war on the people or something like that, war on countries, war on the fish. We got the Baltic Sea and it's bubbling. We do. So let's look at this. 2 undersea leaks that began in Russia-owned Nord Stream gas pipelines on Monday were likely caused by powerful underwater explosions, according to Swedish and Danish seismographic data. It's very clear that from the seismic record that these are blasts. These are not earthquakes. They are not landslides underwater. The German and Danish officials said that Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines showed sudden losses of pressure late Monday, which they said could only be caused by a leak from large holes in the pipelines. The pipeline had large holes. Neither of the pipelines are active, as Russia has cut the deliveries to them, but both were filled with natural gas when the drop in pressure occurred. So Russian energy giant Gazprom, a state entity, owns a controlling interest in both pipelines. So Denmark's prime minister says that her government suspected the leaks were deliberate actions. And that's really sad to hear. It is. It's sad to hear that, someone would stoop so low as to do that. The Prime Minister says it is hard to imagine the leaks detected were accidental. And you can see on the Twitter thing, oh my goodness, security in German media, unnamed security officials say it's possible the leaks are result of an act of sabotage, as an extremely rare undersea concrete coated steel pipes, you all, could break under their own. So you have undersea concrete coated steel pipes, and supposedly they're going to get a leak in them and they're going to break. No. They're not going to break like that, you all. You can rest assured that that when it was laid under there, it was laid under there meant to stay. And I'm sure they followed everything they could to make sure nothing would happen. Authorities have halted all the shipping in the area around it. The Swedish network and Danish seismic network picked up the explosions on Monday. The first blast occurred around 2:30 a.m. Swedish time, and a second larger explosion occurred at 7:04 p.m. So look at the time in between. Preliminary estimates would say that this is at least equivalent to 100 kilograms of dynamite, you all. 100 kilograms of dynamite. The seismic data was able to pinpoint the blast, the blast, to within just a few kilometers of the location of the Swedish Maritime Authority gave as the site of the second leak. We are spot on, but we're fairly close to the area of the leakage, you all. Now, mind you, Sweden, was it Sweden, you all, or Switzerland? Let's pop over here. Switzerland. They said it will fine jail individuals who turn their thermostats above 66 degrees. That was on September the 11th. Switzerland's over-reliance on Russian gas, combined with its climate change alarmism, has created an energy disaster for the European nation. Well, guess what? Now you got the disaster, and it's even more profound. Okay, it's even more profound. It gives the situation. The situation has become so dire that the Swiss government has enacted regulations that allow for the fining and jailing of their citizens who turn their thermostats above 19 degrees Celsius, which is 66 degrees Fahrenheit this winter. And those who are caught turning their thermostats above the mandated threshold will face up to 3 years in prison and fines between 30 and 3,000 Swiss francs. Look, Germans laughed at Trump's warning. Now the nation's inflation rate near 70-year high. Look at this. So let's see this. Russia recently shut down Nord Stream 1, a critical pipeline that carried the natural gas through the Baltic Sea to Germany, forcing many European countries to limit the demand by their citizens. Switzerland, like many other European nations, has also focused on renewable energy sources, which critics have proven unreliable, in a vow to create a climate-neutral society by 2050. Russia recently shut down Nord Stream 1, a critical pipeline that carried the natural gas through the Baltic Sea to Germany, forcing many European countries to limit the demand by the citizens. And now they've got both of them shut down. Both of the pipelines are now ineffectively shut down. What did we read last night? Oh, that was the Black Sea, how the Black Sea ended up in 26 different territories, the flow of it. That was really strange. But now we're in the Baltic Sea, and you're really going to pay for the gas if you can even get the gas, you all. You're going to pay for it big time. And I also did a video right here. Will the Swiss be jailed? This was on September the 14th. and fined for heating their homes above 19 degrees Celsius, which is 66.2 degrees Fahrenheit. I did that. This is wild. Let's listen to this. The impact of the global natural gas shortage. Let's see if you all can hear this. I got to make sure that let me put this just to me. I've got to make sure that I've got that audio on so you can hear that audio output to what they're saying. I haven't listened to it, but I want to hear it.
AC felt expensive this summer. Well, heating up your home this winter may be even worse. Natural gas prices are soaring in the U.S., and they are expected to keep climbing. For more, we're joined by NPR's Arzu Rezvani, who covers the energy markets. Hey there.
Hi, Juana.
So help us understand, why are these natural gas prices so high?
Well, there's much less of it in the world these days, and that's because of Russia. For years, Russia supplied natural gas to Europe, but it has slashed supplies in recent months. And so there's a lot less of it on the market while global demand has remained high. I mean, here in the U.S., 40% of the nation's power comes from natural gas. Half of homes use it for heating. It was also a really hot summer for parts of the country. People had their ACs working overtime. Mix in the fact that U.S. natural gas inventories have dropped this year, and all of this together is driving prices way up. And I'm talking up about 300% from just a few years ago.
Wow.
300%.
Okay, so this high level of demand, we're not that far from winter. Is that going to continue?
That is the expectation, and we're likely to feel the squeeze here because liquefied natural gas producers in the U.S. are exporting more of their supplies to Europe. I talked to Ellen Wald of the Atlantic Council about this. She says U.S. producers have an incentive to export.
If the price they can get in Europe is a lot more than what they can sell their natural gas for in the U.S., then some of that natural gas is going to be exported to Europe, and that is going to raise the price of things in the United States. Not to the levels that we're seeing in Europe, but yeah, we could continue to see more expensive energy costs in the U.S. because of this.
So there's clearly a profit opportunity for U.S. producers right now, but there's also a geopolitical argument for stepping up exports to Europe. The EU is a huge trading partner, and major economic disruptions there could have aftershocks here in the U.S.
Okay, so what does all of this mean for people's energy bills? How much could they be going up?
Yeah, it could go up by a lot. There are estimates that the average family may pay more than $1,200 to heat their home this winter. That's $175 more than last year, which is notable when you consider that nearly 40% of Americans feel financially strapped, according to a new NPR Marist poll out today. For homes in the U.S. that do use natural gas, they could see their electricity costs go up by a third, which could keep inflation up. Texas is the biggest natural gas consuming state. That is where most people could see the biggest jumps in their bills. But I should mention the U.S. could be spared the worst of this price spike if it is a mild winter.
Okay, that's a big if. Arzu, how long could all of this last?
You know, much of that depends on whether Russia turns the gas taps back on for Europe this winter.
It's not
Another
happening.
big factor is how quickly Europe can find new gas sources. Agathe Demarais of the Economist Intelligence Unit says it will be hard to do, but worth it long term.
Europe will be in a better place because it will have completely gotten rid of its dependency on Russian gas. So we expect the most pain to be concentrated in late 2022, early 2023 in many European countries. But after a few years, Russia won't be able to weaponize gas supplies anymore.
So bottom line, these high prices may stay a while.
That's NPR's Arzu Rezvani.
Wow, did you hear that, you all? I'm just thinking, oh my gosh. I am thinking, oh my gosh, because if you come over to the one thing right here, Russia recently shut this is from the September the 11th, this is September the 11th, Nord Stream, Russia shut down Nord Stream 1, the critical pipeline that carried natural gas through the Baltic Sea to Germany, forcing many European countries to limit their demand. But Switzerland and other European nations also focused on renewable energy sources, which critics say have proven unreliable in a vow to create a climate-neutral society. So did you hear all of that? That's right, you all. They did. They said it. So now you're going to pay, what was it? 1,300% more for your energy? This is from September the 11th right here. You're going to get jailed and fined. And we spoke about it in this YouTube video, September the 14th. And now we have this right here. The seismologists suspected the pipeline explosion. And they were talking about in that article right here, well, now you don't got no natural gas coming towards you. And so now the United States is going to step in. United States is going to step in, you all. They are. And they're going to sell their natural gas reserves. I'm sure it's going to go up on an auction to the highest bidder, because that's what we did to the strategic oil reserve. It went to the highest bidder. That's right. Yes, Tony Sturko. I don't like them using animals for that. I don't. I really don't. But yeah, all of that, you all. Let's finish reading this, and it's really not funny. If you're caught in the aftermath and you're under, why do we have to be enemies with each other? Why do the people have to be pitted against one another? This person is not pitted against somebody who lives in another country, okay? Because I don't got a problem with anybody on here from another country, but like I said before, it's like just envision two gangs in a city or in a province. They're fighting one another for control and power. You know how gangs do, you all. They're going to do what they can to protect their territory. It's that simple. Let's see this. So let's look at this, you all. Lund said, there is no natural event that could have created such a unique seismic signature less than 24 hours apart. There's nothing I could come up with that would produce this, you all, with the explosion of the Nord Stream 1 and 2. They have the seismic events were closely resembled what the network had detected in the past when Swedish Navy conducted training exercises using depth charges and undersea mines. Lund said he has notified the Swedish Armed Forces of his findings, and they did not immediately respond to the NPR. It remains unclear who might have conducted the possible sabotage. On Twitter, an expert on submarine warfare and a writer for the U.S. Naval Institute News pointed out relatively shallow depth at which the explosions took place would be reachable by divers and unmanned underwater vehicles. The leak is near the Danish island of Bornholm. This would be diveable, and if you got the orcas, of course, they can send an orca in there. Things do make it suspicious. It's just over 12 nautical miles from island in international waters. Look at that. Island in international waters. Let's look at this. All right. Circumstances, the thread. You can see the tweet right here. It's not too. Let me see if I can click that. It's like, you can see right here. So this is that oopie tweet right there. You can see it. The EEZs here is disputed. So let me put this. I gotta make sure I put this on here when I do my referencing. Someone said, why is Gina writing references? She's trying to write her next book. No, when you do a book report in school, you got to put down your references. You do. That's part of the process you are documenting. So speaking on Tuesday, you all get this. Now this is kind of interesting. Speaking on Tuesday, the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, acknowledged the possibility that the damage to the pipeline was deliberate. And then he added, look what he said, if it is confirmed, that's clearly in no one's interest. If it was deliberate. Well, it is deliberate because, why is it deliberate? Because these pipes are undersea, concrete coated steel pipes. Concrete coated steel pipes. Undersea, you all. So this is, there's more than meets the eye going on here. And there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to copy down these references if I can get up here. Copy down the references and put them in this YouTube video right here, so you all can see where the references came from, everything that I clicked into. I think things are heating up, and I don't really think it's nice. It's not nice that Tyson Bailey, anything is possible. Anything is possible in this world that we live in. One thing that is not possible is to continue living our lives thinking the money will go as far as it used to, and that the things that we rely on an everyday basis is going to be there. That's not happening no more. It's not. It's going to get rough, and you know it. If you've already paid, you want your birth certificate back. T, honey, you can't get it back. Yeah. So I just wonder, what are you going to do over here? Let's look at one more thing. I want to see, is the United States going to do the right thing and step in and give their natural gas? You all, no offense, listen, no offense if you live over there in Europe. It's not you that's doing it, no. But it seems kind of odd, all of this, the dependence. They want to get off of that Russian they didn't want to be dependent. In their codependent relationship with Russia with natural gas, they wanted to break it anyhow. Well, this is This is wonderful. Now they can start on their go, you all. What was I going to do? Yes, that's right. Natural gas. We can auction off natural gas and liquid gas to Europe, to let's just say Baltic Sea, because when they put it off for auction, you all, anybody can buy it, even China, they can buy it. No, we did not see this. Did we just see this, you all? Gina, can you get yourself on here? Let me make myself big. It's about money. Are we just now seeing what we just pulled up? It's about money. Okay, natural gas. You all, this is wild. This Baltic Sea line explodes right there. Now we're going to come over here and we're going to look what we just now saw. We're going to do it. This is the wildest thing. Look at this. The U.S. becomes the world's top exporter of liquefied natural gas. Well, imagine that. I can't believe we stumbled upon that, you all. I cannot. Here's why. It's now the world's leading exporter of liquefied natural gas as Europe's energy crisis and shortages in China send demand for American shipments soaring. We found it. The U.S. will ship more liquefied gas. Look, this is in March to Europe starting next. Oh, you all, we're going to, let me do this one right here. Let me copy this. Let me put this in here before I get it, you all, because this is, now we're going some now. Now we found out some stuff. Whoopsie, Gina, get way down there where you're supposed to be. Okay, now we're finding out some more information about money and power. Power and money. All right, right here. The U.S. will ship more liquefied natural gas to Europe starting next. This is NPR News, so we're going to come back over to NPR News, you all. Next winter, March the 28th of 2022. University's Climate Solutions Lab about how the United States plans to help Europe diminish its reliance on natural gas from Russia. What? Yeah, that's right. Well, they have no what else can they do? The pipelines are now blown up. They're going to have to give them some gas. We're going to have to give them some gas, you all. We are, because now they will, we can diminish that reliance on Russian natural gas. It's got to happen somehow, you all. It does. Europe is looking to wean itself off of natural gas, and President Biden wants to help by shipping more liquefied natural gas across the ocean. About 40% of the natural gas that Europe imports comes from Russia. That is a codependency relationship, no matter how you look at it. But will we be codependent on the United States? Now, how does that work? You get out of one of codependent relationships and you enter into another one? I guess that's how it's supposed to be. Under a deal announced last Friday, the U.S. will start boosting supplies to Europe by next winter. For more, we're joined with the Holborg. Thank you for joining me. All right. Y'all want to listen to it because I think they said we can listen to it. Let's listen to this. It's only 4 minutes. We can listen.
If using the AC felt
Europe is looking to wean itself off of Russian natural gas. Now, President Biden wants to help by shipping more liquefied natural gas across the ocean. About 40% of the natural gas that Europe imports comes from Russia. And under a deal announced last Friday, the U.S. would start boosting supplies to Europe by next winter. For more, we're joined by Jeff Colgan, the Richard Holbrooke Associate Professor of Political Science at Brown University and Director of the Climate Solutions Lab there. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, so the U.S. Will be shipping liquefied natural gas to Europe. President Biden described the agreement as groundbreaking. Is it groundbreaking?
Well, it's a nice to have, but the amount that we're talking about for this coming year is only about 10% of the amount that Europe normally imports from Russia on a given year.
Okay, then the target is actually 50 billion cubic meters of liquefied natural gas per year from the U.S. and others. How realistic is that goal?
Well, already American industry has started to note that this is something you can't just do overnight. You can't just turn on the taps. And there are real supply constraints for increasing the amount of natural gas that the United States can export. Typically, the LNG terminals that export the natural gas run at close to full capacity, and increasing it beyond that is not so easy to do.
If Europe were able to completely replace its supply of Russian gas with gas from other sources, how much more effective could that be than the sanctions that have been imposed?
Well, there is a real sense in which Europe is paying for both sides of the war in Ukraine. And that's because they have remarkable fossil fuel dependence, not just on natural gas, but on oil. They are importing huge amounts from Russia and paying millions and millions of dollars every day for that oil and gas. The oil in particular is really profitable for Russia, and they only need a break-even price of about $42 a barrel to pump oil. And so right now, with oil prices above $100 a barrel, Russia is making enormous amounts of money, even if they face sanctions, even if they have to sell that oil or the natural gas at a discount to what they would normally do.
So even if they had nowhere else to sell it to, it's still the effects of that, we wouldn't even know about that for a while.
That's right. And so getting Europe off of natural gas and onto a cleaner energy source is really important, not only for helping restrict Putin's regime, but also, of course, for climate change.
Now, Europe has been working on alternatives, including renewable energy. What are some of the options on the table right now?
Well, they're trying to ramp up electricity sources from everything except natural gas to reduce that dependence. And of course, the best option is to increase solar and wind. And that's going to take some time. But they will change the regulatory environment right now to try to increase the speed at which they transition to renewables. And in the short term, they're also going to increase coal and nuclear by delaying the decommissioning of nuclear plants.
I know that liquefied natural gas plants in the U.S. are producing at full capacity right now, but given the current production and export capacity, how clear is it to you that the U.S. will be able to manage doing these shipments to Europe at some point?
Well, in the long run, the U.S. industry loves this news and loves in particular the idea that the increase in natural gas exports might rise to 50 billion cubic meters over the next few years. But in the short term, there are real constraints on how much they can do this because, as I said, they're already running close to full capacity.
And of course, all of this takes a long time. We mentioned that and costs a lot of money. So how much will this impact Europe in the long term, you think?
In the immediate concern right now for Europe is the possibility that Russia will turn off the taps for next winter, right? That's the point at which Europe needs the natural gas most pressingly, and they could end up in a situation where they have to choose whether to run their industry or to heat people's homes. And that, of course, is politically a real disaster. You don't want people freezing in their homes in the winter.
That's Jeff Colgan, director of the Brown University Climate Solutions Lab. Jeff, thanks.
Thanks so much.
And now, more from NPR. Live from NPR News in Washington.
So you heard it. That's what they're going to do, you all. They are going to stick to the agenda. They are. I really didn't want this to be a long video, you all, but we found something that we're going to export gas. And it's going to take a long time, they said. But you can come down here. You can hear what they have to say. Look at this. This is really interesting. Federal money is now headed to states for building up fast EV chargers. If you got an electric vehicle, if you can afford it, with the energy prices going through the roof and inflation going through the roof, if you can afford it, they're going to send some money for electric chargers. Germany now, if you live in Germany, you got to turn to the world's dirtiest fossil fuel, they say. Let me get myself out of the way. Power outages and problems accessing fuel forced Puerto Rico grocery stores to close. Now they're really in a crisis in Puerto Rico, and I think that's absolutely horrible. California plans to phase out new gas heaters by 2030. 5 numbers show Hurricane Fiona's devastating impact on Puerto Rico. It is in the dark again, but solar companies see a glimmer of hope for Puerto Rico. The Hurricane Ian's track has been difficult, and experts tell us why. Because they're not steering that hurricane, you all. If it's been difficult, the experts don't know because it's being steered. What NASA spacecraft saw just seconds before slamming into an asteroid, baby puffins and stuff like that. The Cuba remains in the dark after the hurricane knocks out their power grid. Oh my gosh, you all. How would you like your power grid knocked out? They got their power grid knocked out. You say, oh, it's not possible here. Oh, it's very possible. Somebody could send a satellite or something overhead. That's all it takes. Just be right overhead so many kilometers in the air and detonate the device, because we don't own the space above our head, way up there in space. All it has to do is go over, and it's powerful enough to literally knock out the power grid, you all. We are about done. We are. I think I've put everything in here that I was supposed to put in here. That's right. Susan, honey, that is terrible. Let's make sure that, let's look at this, if the entire thing of Cuba is without power. Let me click into this, because you can find all of these links here, and I think that's terrible. It is. And how do you prepare for something like that? And you've got children. The whole Cuba remains without power. They are completely in the dark. Without power. You're talking about a climate crisis. We got a climate crisis here in Cuba. Now they don't got no power, and it's a hurricane that did it, you all. Knocked out their power grid in Cuba. A couple walks down the street in the middle of a dark blackout in Havana. It remained in the dark because a hurricane knocked out its power grid and devastated the most important tobacco farms. So the tobacco farms have been hit in Cuba. They're working overnight to service the country's 11 million people. The entire grid collapsed. The entire grid of Cuba has collapsed, you all. Wow. The entire grid of Cuba has collapsed. Ian hit a Cuba that has been struggling with an economic crisis and faced frequent power outages. Category 3, where much of the tobacco used for Cuba's iconic cigars is grown. That's right, Sweet Pea. Tens of thousands of people were evacuated and fled ahead of the arrival of Ian. It damaged most important tobacco farms in La Robania. It was an apocalyptic disaster, you all. An apocalyptic disaster in Cuba. Their whole entire grid is now knocked out. The whole entire grid of Cuba. Oh my gosh. Wow. Robena, also the owner of Finca Robena cigar producer, posted photos on the social media of wood and thatch roofs smashed to the ground. Greenhouses are in rubble and wagons overturned. Being in the hurricane was terrible, but we are here alive. Officials set up 55 shelters and took steps to protect the crops, especially the tobacco crops. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said Cuba suffered significant wind and storm surge impacts. Sustained winds of 125 miles per hour. It was expected to get even stronger over the warm Gulf of Mexico, reaching up top speeds of 130 miles an hour, approaching southwestern coast of Florida, where 2.5 billion people were ordered to evacuate. 2 million. As the storm center moved into the Gulf, scenes of destructions emerged in Cuba. Authorities were still assessing the damage in its world-famous tobacco belt. Local government station reported the damage at the main hospital, tweeting photos of collapsed ceilings and downed trees, and there were no deaths. Videos showed downed power lines, cut off roads in provinces. The town is flooded. Many people lost their belongings due to the storm's surge. I spent the hurricane at home with my husband and dog. The masonry and the zinc roof of the house had just been installed, but the storm tore it down. Who lives along the highway, you all? We couldn't rescue. We ran out, you all. Could you imagine? Cuba is in the dark. Their power grid has went down. And even those who prepared, who had made preparations, stored up and stuff, and had their greenhouses, like that. Boom, a force of nature comes and there's nothing but the clothes on your back and whatever you can salvage. And the grid is down. Now you're really in an apocalyptic situation, you all. Apocalyptic. Oh my gosh, there is no news story about this? That makes me upset. Oh my gosh. Why isn't this news? Why is that not news? Oh my gosh, let me put this in here. Cuba power grid has collapsed. Let me do this, see if I can do a hashtag on here, you all. If I can do it. Cuba. Now we got it. We got a hashtag on Cuba. The power grid went down. Oh my gosh. Well, there's no reason for the United States to be angry. I'm not angry. You're all not angry. It's the gangs that are angry. The big global gangs, you all. There really is. These entities. These big power-hungry entities who are angry. They don't speak for the majority of the people, but we're under their control. We are. I'm just telling you. Oh my gosh, their power grid is down. Have I been, don't tell me I had this on me the whole time, because I hope I did not. The whole entire time, Cuba. Power grid. Now it's on there, you all. Now the power grid. Without electricity because it hammered their power grid. Think it can't happen where you're at? Think again. Oh, it most definitely can happen. If they signed a treaty back in 1978, Geneva, not to use weather as a weapon, and if the U.S. and, Russia agreed, who's to say that either one of them did not go back on their word? Who's to say, you all? They can use weather as a weapon if they want to. They can. All you'll do, if you use weather as a weapon, say you're in there and you're steering this hurricane and stuff, you're just destroying things, okay? You're not making it like apocalyptic, like nuclear fallout where you can't use the land that you destroyed. Natural gas is a form of clean energy. Yes, in the U.S. it's going to be the largest supplier now to Europe. It's going to take a while. Cuba is in the dark. Now they got it on here. Cuba's in the dark. They're going to restore power. It needs to be on the power. It needs to be on the news. 11 million people. So it's knocked out their power grid. Let me put this back to me. Because this is like a... This is more, it's war. It literally is war, not just on populations and states and stuff. It's war on the environment. It's war on the animals. It's war on the plants, the trees. It's war on the earth. The earth has war on top of it. And I don't think the earth likes it. It doesn't like it don't like itself being destroyed. It doesn't. You think the earth itself, if the earth was a living entity, they like them going down into the oceans and setting off things on the pipelines that is still coated in concrete and blowing them up? You think the earth itself, if the earth was a living entity, you think the earth would like it? And does it like it that this is being done to people on earth because the earth can feel the pain? It's like if you think about this. The earth is crying out because of your brother's blood that was shed on the earth. No, the earth doesn't like it either. The earth has energy. It feels the energy. It absorbs a lot of the energy. It doesn't like it. Nature doesn't like it. I don't like it. You don't like it. Nobody likes it. We all feel the pain. If you have a connection in here, you are a spiritual being in this body. You have electricity. You have frequencies. You have auras. We're connected. People can ground themselves by walking outside, hugging a tree, ground yourself. They grind copper rods into the ground because the earth absorbs it. The earth has to absorb everything, you all. Some people call earth Gaia. It's just a mess. This is such a mess. It is. Deliberate explosions to the pipeline in the Baltic Sea. They're blaming it on something, but they don't think it's very nice. There's a lot of theories as to who did it or what did it. Why was it done? So all of it, you all of it. I better get off of here. I done said too much. I did. So thank you for being on here. And with that being said, hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello, from my heart to yours. And I mean it, from my heart to your heart. It doesn't matter if you live over here in Europe. It doesn't matter if you live in anywhere, on any continent, and the other continents and the other landmass that we're not told about. It doesn't matter. It's a heart thing. It is. Love you.